KUAM News Headlines is presented by Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus, home of Guam's first and only lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit carsplusguam.com for details. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Now on primetime, the NWS issues a tropical storm warning for Guam. Plus, a drug smuggling bust is linked to a former police and corrections officer. Also, does Guam's Castle Doctrine law protect defendants from being prosecuted?
Hafidang, good evening. I'm Adriana Cotero. Out of an abundance of caution, Governor Lulian Guerrero placed Guam in condition of readiness 3 at 6 p.m. this evening. Typhoon-force winds are not expected, but according to the National Weather Service, we could experience some pretty wet weather beginning early Tuesday morning. With details from a late afternoon heavy weather briefing is Isaiah Uggan.
As of 2 o'clock Monday afternoon, the National Weather Service issued a tropical storm warning for Guam. NWS Landon Islet is tracking tropical depression 06W.
We did have it centered about 200 miles southeast of Guam, moving toward the west-northwest with an expected passage just south of Maritza, Guam, sometime early Tuesday morning. Yeah, we're going to be seeing the winds tonight around 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts. They'll be increasing overnight into tomorrow morning, peaking around 25 to 35 miles per hour with gusts around 45 miles per hour. That's going to be right around the low end tropical storm force conditions. We're going to see those conditions hold steady through early Tuesday morning through at least Tuesday midday.
He said it's still too early as to when Guam will be all clear. The NWS stresses that any northward shift could change the storm's intensity, bringing heavier winds over more of Guam. For now, however, it's best to prepare now, such as locating or preparing your emergency preparedness kits, which should include non-perishable food items, water, flashlight, first aid kits, batteries, matches or lighters, a portable stove, and toiletries. Just in case, you should also start securing important documents such as birth certificates, tax papers, and insurance documents, and keep copies in a waterproof bag. If you haven't already, it's a good idea to start clearing loose debris around your yard and stores such as tents and canopies that may become airborne with heavy winds before inclement weather arrives. You should also make sure your car has gas and you have fuel for your generator. And finally, keep a watch out in the event a flash flood advisory is issued, and don't go camping or hiking during this time. Reported for Guam's News Network, Guahusi Isaiah Uggan.
We should note while the island is in Core 3, there is no anticipated change in course setting for the respective military bases at this time. Due to the expected inclement weather, the weekly drive-through COVID-19 community testing at Teason for Tuesday is canceled. COVID testing will still be available at the Northern Region Community Health Center by appointment only. However, the Joint Information Center reports that COVID vaccine clinics remain open. The UOG clinic will function from 12 noon to 5:30 p.m. and the Southern Region Community Health Center in Inalahan will operate from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. A case involving a drug bust in California is tied to a former police officer in Guam. With more is Sabrina Salas Montanani.
37-year-old Andrew P. Manabusan will be extradited to Guam after being busted on drug charges in the state of California. According to court documents between June 2020 to June 2021, Manabusan and others allegedly conspired to smuggle drugs into Guam. Last month, a search warrant was issued for a package Manabusan mailed from Antioch, California to the territory. When law enforcement seized the package, it contained 3,617 gross grams of methamphetamine. A tracking device was placed inside to monitor its movement. Court documents state Jose Ananich received the package and drove it to his home in Jigo. Law enforcement agents converged on the home and found Ananich inside a shipping container that was converted into a storage and workroom. Ananich was allegedly burning the package and was hesitant to exit. When he came outside, though, law enforcement agents found a methamphetamine glass pipe in his pocket and a cell phone. Telephone records show that Manabusan would contact Ananich using a specific phone number and would also receive payments from him, specifically $1,000 in U.S. postal money orders. It's alleged that the money orders were purchased by an individual by the name of James A. Movness and addressed to Manabusan. Manabusan is charged with conspiracy to distribute 50 or more grams of meth. He appeared last Wednesday before Northern District Court of California Magistrate Judge Donna Ryu, who ordered he be extradited to Guam. Ananich is a former police officer and former Department of Corrections officer. In early June, he was detained by federal law enforcement agents and appeared in the District Court of Guam. His case, however, was sealed, quote, for the reason that law enforcement is still working on others involved in an ongoing drug trafficking investigation. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Sabrina Salas, Matanani.
According to DOC, Manabusan has not yet checked into the Hagåtña detention facility. Does Guam's Castle Doctrine protect attempted murder defendant Randy Jr. Chalco Nauta and co-defendant Anthony Ignacio from prosecution? Defense counsels argue it does, as they have motioned to dismiss the case, claiming self-defense. Here is more from Superior Court Judge Maria Senzon's courtroom. Defense counsel Randy Cunliffe says his client Anthony Ignacio was the victim in the case. Representing co-defendant Randy Jr. Chalco Nauta is alternate public defender Peter Santos, who says his client was defending Ignacio when he allegedly shot Jesse Kitachai. The whole incident went down back in February along San Francisco Street in Agate. As reported, Ignacio and Nauta met up and drove to the dead-end street, where Kitachai and others were at. Kitachai had allegedly been threatening Ignacio and when she was going to make peace, but that was not the case. Moments later, several men with weapons walked toward Ignacio and Nauta, who remained inside their car. Kitachai allegedly began violently striking the car with a metal pipe and knife in hand and attempted to pull Ignacio out of the car. That's when Nauta allegedly exited the car and shot Kitachai. Ignacio was the getaway driver. Nauta has been indicted for attempted murder and aggravated assault charges, while Ignacio faces guilt by complicity to commit attempted murder as a first-degree felony and guilt by complicity to commit aggravated assault as a second-degree felony. Cunliffe and Santos have motioned for the dismissal of the case with prejudice, claiming self-defense under Guam's Castle Doctrine statute. Oral arguments on the motion were heard Monday morning in the Superior Court of Guam. Attorney Santos stated, quote, this was a clear setup for a beatdown or worse, where Ignacio was a target. And let's not beat around the bush. These are Agate boys. They do certain things down in Agate, unquote. Santos further arguing that the defendants were in the car, blocked in, and had to strike an object in order to leave. In support of this argument, Attorney Cunliffe stated that Kitachai was trying to attack the duo. On the other side, Assistant Attorney General Sean Brown opposed the motion and brought into evidence surveillance footage captured from a nearby residence. Brown argued that the Castle Doctrine does not apply because Kitachai never entered the vehicle and did not try to pull anyone out of the vehicle. Brown also pointing out that the defendants were armed. He stated, quote, if they wanted to make peace, then why would they bring a firearm? And all this happened while Ignacio yelled to Nauta, blast him, par, unquote. In response, Santos argues that Brown and the police jumped to the conclusion that the two defendants were there to meet with Kitachai, but Santos says they were lured there by another individual. Further, the defense brought into evidence more video surveillance footage that allegedly shows Kitachai arriving to the location and coordinating with others, grabbing weapons, and then going to Ignacio and Nauta's car. In conclusion, Santos says the evidence shows they walked into an ambush. The Castle Doctrine applies, and if the court does not agree, then self-defense does apply. The court is taking the matter under advisement and plans to issue a decision in order. As a law that mandates what some senators are calling the political privatization of tax enforcement appears to be on the fast track to implementation. Bipartisan criticism of the law is highlighting the true price of privatization. Chris Barnett has more.
Rev and Tax Oversight Senator Sabina Perez continuing to call out the political privatization of tax collection law. Senator Perez citing the price of privatization and comparing it to what it would have cost for Rev and Tax to do the collecting of cigarette taxes in-house.
They're going to proceed with the RFP at a cost of $17 million, which, DRT can do it for a fraction of that cost, about $400,000 to do. And the rest of that money can go towards the health of our people. So, DRT still has that option.
Wesco, a cigarette distributor affiliated with Senator Mary Torres' family, sued DRT over the implementation of this tax collection law, but the AG's office argued that Wesco didn't even have standing to file the lawsuit. The AG's office also arguing the procurement has already started, and the AG further arguing that Wesco's writ lacked factual statements and was full of, quote, speculative statements. Senator Tello Taitagui tells The Link Wesco had too much leeway and too much involvement in the legislative process for this law, and it looks like they had a little help from the inside.
Certain individuals who have interests, special interests in this legislation, who should have basically exempted herself from any kind of voting or put her name on any kind of part of this legislation. There's a conflict of interest. So you could see politics at its worst here.
Both senators calling out the enormous $17 million price tag that will come with privatizing tax collection. The company that wins the bid will essentially be paid $17 million over the course of the contract. That $17 million would have normally gone to the Healthy Futures Fund to help cancer studies and, more importantly, cancer patients.
I can imagine that would help